Hello, my friend. We are out on Lake Whatcom, and this is my first fish, so I decided, well, I better turn the cameras on. I think he's like a 17-incher, I'm going to guess, but we're going to measure him. It's pretty rambunctious, so hey, look at that. That was a pretty good guess. He's exactly 17 inches, and we're going to let him go. There you go, buddy. Have a nice day. Now, he probably was on a bed. I don't know. And I say he because he didn't look like he was a female. He looked like he was a male. He may be fry guarding. I'm not sure. This is June 1st, so we're a little bit late into the season, but it is only 59 degrees. We're not exactly scorching hot, but there definitely had probably been in here spawn, and I'm probably a week late getting into this portion of the lake. But I tossed my wacky worm right at about 4 feet, 4.5 feet. This is the first dock that I fished. And so, and by the way, we're on Lake Whatcom. I didn't mention that. This is the first dock that I fished, and smallmouth will spawn anywhere from 1 to 15 feet, depending on the clarity of the water. But my experience is that in most clear water scenarios, they're right around 4 or 5 feet. So, if you're going to start somewhere, start there. Okay. Now, this end of the dock here is about in 8 to 10 feet. So I'm also going to pitch it right in that general area. Well, that wasn't exactly ideal. We got a huge log coming up from the depths here too as well. So let's just see what we get, if anything. That last bite was really obvious. The line took off. But that's not always the case. Sometimes the fish will pick up the worm and they'll run right straight at you, and you won't see anything on the line. If they're moving basically towards you, you typically won't see anything on the line. Sometimes you'll get a slightly different sink rate or that sort of thing, but quite often you won't have any indication at all. It's very difficult. But that's a good sign. We got a fish in here. All right, let's see if we can skip it up under that dock now. That's better. In that case, the worm was snagged on something on the bottom, but when you ever feel resistance at all on the line, you want to set the hook, even if you run the risk of setting it into a nice hefty log, because more often than not it is a fish. Now, particularly when they're spawning, I'd like to cover the area pretty extensively, simply because sometimes they won't move off the bed much to get a bait. So sometimes you just have to pitch it in there in multiple places to make sure that there's not some beds in there. And the only other thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to try to get it up in the shallow area as well. Now, this is ultra clear water. I don't know how well the camera picks that up, but you know, I can see absolutely everything in here. And so when that happens, a lot of times when you catch a fish under a dock, you know, you're just spooking everything out of there. Now, if there's any of you guys out there who are who fish Whatcom a lot, I'd be curious to know if any of you have ever caught a largemouth out of Whatcom. So if that's the case, let me know, because I've never seen one. But I was under the impression, maybe it was an ill-gotten information, but that there were largemouths here. but I have not been able to find it.
I just love these docks, which are really low to the water. They just seem to provide better cover for the bass. They seem to like them a lot better. And yeah, of course, there's a fish there.
I actually saw this fish swimming out from underneath that dock after I throw my wacky worm in there. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. There's a fish right there. Yep. This one looks to be about the same size as the last one. I lost my worm, you little... No, he didn't. That's still on the line. Okay. I think this one's going to be around 16 and a half-ish. Something along those lines. Oh, 16 and quarters, something like that. Yeah. He's a 16. Thank you very much for your time. That appeared to be another male. So, are they spawned out and then we got fry garters, or are we getting ready for the spawn where we have a bunch of males up there getting the beds ready? Those are the two logical scenarios. And that last fish is a perfect example. I'm watching my line and I saw this fish swim out from me underneath the dock, and it swam this way. And I did not see any movement on the line at all. But as soon as I started to pick the line up, I could see that the line was following the fish. So that's what's going on. He's picked up that worm and is gone for a ride. Alright, got another fish here. He was up in the shallow areas. Not much of a fish, but he's a fish. Now, let's see here. Not entirely sure what kind of fish that is that he's got in his gullet, but he's got one in there. He ain't giving it up. Okay, have fun with it. Got another one. Not a particularly big one, but hey, buddy, come here. Any other time I couldn't get your mouth, close your mouth. This time you're... That's probably a 15-incher. Get out of here. I don't think that was worth measuring. It was definitely a keeper. Now this right here looks pretty juicy to me. Not a lot of guys are going to get their boat up in there where they can cast up in there, and there's a rope there too. That's another negative. And then right behind that boat hoist is another. It's tight in there. It's complicated to get a cast up in there. You kind of have to get over here to make that cast. Those are the kinds of places that you find the bigger fish. Things that are miserable to get to. Yeah. Yeah, just like I said, those areas back in there are where the big ones hang out. Yeah, it's not a big one, obviously. Come here. Alright, he's probably an 8-incher. Get out of here. Now, when you catch a fish like that, those little 8-inchers, usually is an indication that there isn't a big one underneath there. But I'm going to try again, just in case.
Okay, so I'm not giving up on this dock here. I do think that there's a decent fish up under there, and so I'm hitting it from the opposite side here. And yes, sir, there's a fish under there, and we got him on a line. We're gonna check him out, see what he is.
Another 15, 16-incher. Yes, stop.
Yeah, okay, so it's not the huge fish that I predicted that would come out of there, but it is a heck of a lot bigger than the first one that came out of there, so it's an upgrade. I'm happy.
Let's just clean that up for you, buddy. I can't get that hook out, but I can remove this line from your face and make life a little easier for you.
Okay, so I was able to get my wacky worm hook out of this fish, but there was another bait that he had swallowed. Somebody else had tried to catch him and it broke off. He had like 15 or 20 inches sticking out. And the prevailing understanding is a couple of inches is good. So that's what I did. I cut it off like 1 or 2 inches and let the fish go.
Come here, buddy. Come here. Okay. That's a decent fish. I'm gonna guess 17 and a half, 18, something like that. I don't know. I might be overestimating them a bit. Yeah, I was overestimating. I'm 16 and a half. And even 16 and a quarter. But still a decent fish. This one I'm pretty sure is a female. Yep, I know. Let's get you measured and get you out of here. I don't think you're of any significant size here, but we're going to get you measured anyway. Let's see. Yep, she's an 18. I think she still has some eggs in her. Get out of here, youngin'. Go get bigger. Alright, so that dock sure looked like it was going to have a fish under it. Some of these things you can just tell by looking at them. And that dock was low to the water, large and dark.
Here's another one of those docks, which is kind of complicated. It's got a lot going on. It is reasonably close to the water, and it's quite dark under there. So I'm anticipating catching a fish under here. Yeah, so yes, indeed, there was a fish under here, and halfway near decent fish. It's a 15-inch fish, I think. I didn't actually measure them. That's my guess. If you think it was bigger or smaller, let me know in the comments. But yeah, I think that's a decent fish. And I go to turn my chest camera on here so that I can record my feelings on the matter, but it didn't work because the battery's dead. And I did plug it in, and maybe I can have some more chest camera later on in the video. I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I can't remember. A lot of these docks only had one fish under them, and this is a pretty complicated dock, so I have a lot more anticipation that I might see another fish from under here. So I made sure I cast it in there quite a few times, and it turns out it paid off because I did catch another fish here. Now, this fish looks like a pretty nice fish, but ordinarily, after I measure it, I will look at the camera and mouth the size, or I'll hold up my fingers or something to tell you how big this thing was. But, I don't know what I was thinking. I wasn't in the mood, I guess. So I didn't do that. So I don't know what it actually measured, but it looks to me like it's probably 16, 17 inches. But, you know, being a fisherman, we're going with 17 inches. That's how big that one was. It might have even been bigger. Yeah, that's the story. It might have been bigger. Now, this next fish Yeah, I don't think there's anything I can do to convince you that it's bigger than 10 inches. I think it's probably closer to 8. I was getting some PTSD flashbacks from Dorshak on this fish right here. Yeah, he's not much to talk about. Yeah, here's another one. Pretty much the same thing. 10 incher. I think. I don't even know. He's a small one. You can see the wind's picked up quite a bit. We're rocking and rolling quite a bit. And I want you also to notice the complicated cast that required to get between that jet ski and that smaller dock that was hanging out there, and how complicated that is and how dark it is back in there. And look, it produces a fish. And thankfully, by the looks of them, it's not a dink. 2 of those in a row, I started to get a little bit queasy, a little nervous and jerky. This looks like a nice fish right here. I know it's really hard to tell how big a fish is from the video, but I want you guys to take a look at this and tell me, how big do you think that one is? I'm going to say that that's a, well, if I go by the normal fisherman standard, that's a 19 incher. But that's not how big that is. I think that that's probably a 17 incher as well. But let's call it 16 3/4 just to be on the conservative side. Well, I started to run out of docks, and the wind was picking up, so I started trolling to get from the side of the lake that I was on to the other side, and I picked up this little dinker, that little squeaker. Yeah, we're not going to count him either. Just because I talk about these complicated docks and, you know, big and dark, doesn't mean you should ignore these little unassuming docks. This guy's a pretty small dock, but there was a fish under there. He's not a gargantuan fish, but you know, it's a fish. If you were in a tournament and you were struggling to get 5 fish, you'd love to have this one right here. I think it's like 14 inches, somewhere in that range. And of course, he swallowed the hook, and used through the gill method to get the hook out. I did watch videos saying that that it's marginally better to leave the hook in him, but you know, I think that a lot of the damage is done by the hook pulling on the guts when you're bringing them in and not actually removing it. So I'm going to stick with removing the hook if I can. Okay, this is my last fish, and I think it's probably 12 inches. I'm just looking at it on the video just like you guys, but it looks like it's probably 12 inches to me. But having not measured it, we're going to call it an undersized fish just because I didn't measure it. All right, so that was my last fish. That was the last fish I caught. I wasn't far from the ramp, so we're going to head over to the ramp and pack up for the day. But my best 5 fish there was 84.5 inches, you know, approximately. Because not every fish was measured, and I guessed on some of the dimensions. But I generally am pretty good at the dimension guessing, so I'm gonna say, yeah, we're right around 84 inches. Which, you know, I'm pretty happy with that. Anytime you can catch 9 keepers or 10 keepers, then that's a pretty decent day. I'm pretty happy with the way that trip turned out. Well, that's all I got for you for today. Appreciate you guys stopping by, watching. Please give me a like and subscribe, and for goodness sakes, leave a comment. Would very much appreciate that. Thank you very much, and we'll see you on the next one.